Good morning, Ryan.
Morning.
How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, I think I'm okay, except for we had an adjunct not show up in Woodward to teach a class, so that was not good. And I don't know um, where this person is, so that's not a good thing. Anybody want to teach a Gen Psych class this semester? Everybody's good with that? Okay. Maybe get some indirect credits, indirect hour credits, 45 hours right at the top. I'm going to wait just a second to see if anybody else shows. It may just be us. And if that's the case, that's okay. Because I'm recording this and we're going to go over the nuts and bolts, and everybody else is going to have to watch it. So it looks like, based on everybody's response, if given enough lead time, this lunch hour may be the best bet, because I had some people that just couldn't attend Wednesday night and some people that just couldn't attend that morning. So I tried to find the best happy medium, and I don't think everybody's going to be able to join us for the whole hour and a half. If we can, that's fantastic. What I might do, as I've played around with this, is just kind of leaving the room open from like 11 to 1 and seeing, like, okay, maybe I could catch 12 to 1, maybe I can catch 11 to noon, and that way we just make sure we get our supervision in. But I'll let everybody know it's at least going to be open an hour and a half, an hour and a half window on Tuesdays, the way it's looking. I haven't heard from everybody, so we'll see. Ryan, this is your first semester, correct? Awesome. And Abby, you're finishing things up. Any other classes to go with this, Abby?
Just addictions and family counseling.
Okay, so Thursday night class to go along with it. Comps, of course.
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things that we'll talk about, if not next week, definitely the week after. So within the next 2 weeks, we will do a comprehensive exam preview study guide kind of prep session. This whole hour and a half is going to be, and I'll record that. So the whole hour and a half will be like, okay, here's what to study, here's what to pull, what are some things that might be on the exam, what are some things to think about. And so that'll benefit Ryan, because he'll have a chance to think about it, in the future, like in the spring. So and we've got a mix of people. I think we have three or four new folks, and then 5 or 6 folks that have been here before for Practicum 2. So good mix. I like that, because people get to see what it's like to be farther along in the process, what it's like to have already done a semester. So I kind of like that peer learning. I don't know. I'm gonna stall for another minute or two. Anything new, exciting, something that's like, hey, I need to talk about this? Anything coming up? Had lockdown in Alva yesterday.
Actually, do you know who's teaching? Oh, it's one of the addiction classes.
It's
Uh,
not
can I-
it's not addictions and family counseling, is it?
Mm, maybe is that Monday and Wednesday?
Nope.
I don't remember the classes.
That's substance abuse counseling. So
No, there you go. Substance abuse counseling.
that's going to be Jessica Taylor. She is a new adjunct, but she's an LADC. She's a LPC supervisor. She worked at Northwest Center for quite a while. She just finished her LADC licensure last year. So she will be picking up that class. That was one of Professor Miller's classes, and she should be good at it. She has a lot of passion for working with people with addictions, and that hopefully will be one of the funner classes. Abby, did you have me for that? Yeah, yeah. See, I remember that. That was like your first semester. Yeah. So So that class is a split class. There are undergrads and grads. I think it's about 16 students. I think it's 8 and 8 this semester, 8 grads, 8 undergrads. But the grads actually like demonstrate like a session. So, Ryan, like you did strategies and like you did supervising group. It's a little bit like that in that you'll be a fish, like in a fishbowl in front of the class, but you're working with somebody in the class on like an addiction that they have. So most times that people are not going to talk about their heroin addictions in the middle of our addictions class. But I do want it to be real. I want somebody to choose something like I'm addicted to online shopping, or I'm addicted to gaming, or I'm addicted to I've had people talk about being addicted to caffeine or cigarettes. That's people talk about being addicted to alcohol too before. So it just kind of, you'll have a volunteer, and so you'll demonstrate an evidence-based technique in front of the class. So what's cool is the undergrads get to see you, give you feedback, and you also get to see others like practice. But the big thing that students, well, I gave away my book to the instructor. Like if you're a grad student, I really want you to try motivational interviewing out. It's simple. It builds on micro skills. And so I think, is that what you did, Abby? Do you remember what you did for that class?
Yeah, I think you like pick your theory
Yeah.
and apply it to the addiction. So I think I did CBT, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's right. That's right. So she did CBT, kind of picked a little bit about what she was doing with Bill Johnson and applied it in class. So you'll pick a theory and then demonstrate it for like 15, 20 minutes. It's not bad. That's the big assignment for grads. 3 exams. You have like an addiction journal that you can throw out your low exam score, which I'd recommend doing. If you do all your journals each week, it's like you can get more than 100 points. So it's not too bad. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about practicum. The first step, and this will apply to you as well, Abby. So the first step is to get our paperwork in. Ryan, your first step is to get insurance. Have you had a chance to look at HPSO insurance yet? Okay. So let me step you through that process, and this will help all of the new people. If you're watching this video and you're in practicum too, you can kind of tune out for the next 4 or 5 minutes, but that's okay. So if you go on here and you look at HPSO, Healthcare Providers Service Organization, this is a place to get insurance, and to be able to get any direct hours, we have to obtain malpractice insurance. And so this is it was $42 a year. Abby, do you remember what yours was? Did you join ACA or did you get HPSO?
I think I got HPSO.
Okay. Was it around like 40 or 50 bucks?
Yeah, I want to say it was 50.
What? I'm sorry.
50 bucks.
50 bucks. Okay. So what you'll do, the easiest way to do this is just call them and say, hey, I'm a counseling student and I need insurance. You can also like just look it up. Students or graduates. Get a quote. Students or graduates.
Are you showing this on the screen? Because it's not showing it.
For real? Thank you for telling me. Yeah, I was trying to. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me step back then. So all I did was type in HPSO into a search engine. And it came up, insurance for you. You're a student. Get a quote. It'll step you through some of these things. Get started. Students or graduates. Looks like Lynette is my personal advisor. I'm a student. I'm in Oklahoma. So you can do this either. If you don't want to call somebody, you can type it in. counseling. Let me see here. Licensed professional counselor. We are an LPC student. I'll put that in for now. Let's see what happens. So there is a place for LPC in there. And then so you'll put in your information. It'll give you a quote. Should be around $50. It lasts a year. It'll cover you for both practicums. So Abby, what you'll want to do is you'll want to get on first thing, get on Blackboard. This will be your first assignment, Ryan. This is Abby's first assignment this semester too. Go into Blackboard. Hopefully it'll let me. Nope, it wants me to log in. Really wants me to log in badly. All right. And it's moving slowly. And you'll go to Practicum. Possibly. Here it is. And so this will be your first assignment you want to take care of, which is liability insurance. So you can't accrue any direct hours until you upload proof of liability insurance. You'll just click on it. It's like an assignment. You'll get a PDF. The big things that you'll want to make sure that are on the document that you submit. You'll get probably a couple of documents. You'll get like a verification that, hey, you're requesting it, but you actually have to have your policy. So this is important for everybody. Make sure you actually upload a copy of your policy. Your policy will have your name, a policy number, dates of coverage, which everybody should have a whole year of coverage, the amount of coverage, which is 1 million individual, 3 million aggregate. That's what they will give you. That's been the same way for 10 years, unless they change it suddenly. But the $50 will get you $1 million worth of coverage for an individual claim, 3 million aggregate. And you have to provide proof of this. You have to upload this assignment before you can start accruing direct hours. Okay. That's the first thing that you should do. So when you get off of this class, if you're new, then yeah, contact HPSO. If you're a continuing student, then make sure you just find, I need it. The reason why I need it is because in case something happens to me, I can't instruct the class. I need somebody to be able to come in, look at this course, find your insurance, and be able to continue on. So even if you're a continuing student, this is a mandatory assignment. You've got to upload your old. Obviously, if you just bought it in the spring, don't repurchase insurance. It will keep going, but I do need it uploaded. Any questions on this? Okay, it should be fairly straightforward, but it is necessary just in case something happens. You're covered, I'm covered, the school's covered. Okay. Second thing, Practicum handbook. This is long. If you've already been in Practicum 2, again, you're welcome to. If this is Practicum 2 for you, you're welcome to turn out for a little bit. But if you're in Practicum 1, the Practicum handbook is very important, and it's very important that you read through all of it. So you'll pull this up. It's long. It's like 31 pages. But it will help us guide what we're doing throughout the whole course. And there are necessary documents in here. The next thing for you, Ryan, that's most important, I would say, well, first of all, let me ask you this. This is really important for not just you, but other people that are watching. Where are you going to do your practicum?
I contacted Northwest Behavioral Health a bit ago, and then I got someone or they got my name and my number right. So they said they were gonna contact me when we could talk more about that to talk to you or something.
Yeah.
I was trying to just get it early so we can let them know so it's not just a surprise thing. But I
Yeah.
guess we'll see how that progresses. But
So
that's my idea so far.
if you have not talked to me about your placement, it is necessary to talk to me about your placement first. There are agencies that we will not work with. And the reason for that, they're usually have to do with very negative student experiences in the past. So we do our best to protect you as the student from poor experiences in practicum. Therefore, please make sure you reach out to me first before you start going and setting up your practicum. It is necessary. Um, most agencies we're going to work with, but there are a handful that just based on previous experience, there are some toxic environments out there, and you don't need that as a student. So Northwest Center is one that we've contracted with in the past, and so I don't see right off the bat an issue. Were you going to work there in Alpha, or was that the placement?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anybody that's there currently? Not really. So just kind of going in cold. Okay. Okay. Trying to think of their supervisor. It's been a minute. I think the last student we had there, I think, was Willow. It's been a while. I'd have to just find out who their current clinical director is, and do you know who you're trying to reach out to?
Shale something
Shayla?
S-H Shayla, yes. I
Shayla
believe that I think
Gibbons?
that was one of them, and then they gave me another name. I don't.
Okay. Okay. If you have problems with that, let me know. But hopefully, based on our relationship in the past, you should be able to find placement there. What's a backup plan if that one doesn't work?
Northwest Family Services.
Okay, yeah, we've worked with Ginger there before, and so that would work as well. Um, uh, so yeah, just be sure that you know you think about what it is that you want to do first of all as a professional, and then try to match up your practicum experiences with, hey, I might want to work with this population. I might want to try this agency. If you're from a small community, Alva doesn't have too many providers. You know, you're a little bit limited. Northwest Center is going to give you the biggest spectrum of people to work with. North North no, it's Northwest Family Services. They're primarily working with kids, and that's okay, kids and families. All right, so yeah, step one is to have a conversation. Step two, once you have that conversation and we verbally approve you to find that practicum placement, the forms are here on page 12. So Practicum 1 students, you're responsible for this practicum contract on page 12. Practicum 2 students, if you are continuing at the same placement, you do not need to redo this, but you do need to upload it. Okay, same thing as the liability insurance. If you're finding a new placement this semester, please, we need to redo the contract and upload it. So this is the next thing besides the insurance that you'll upload. So you'll see there are some blanks. You know, whenever you're talking to the agency, it'll be the agreement will be between Northwestern, and if you get with Northwest Center for behavioral health, you'll put NCBH. You know, you can abbreviate that. And you'll put the date here. At the end on page 13, the second page, you'll get my signature if we approve the placement. I'm just going to sign it once since I'm also the practicum coordinator. But you also want to get the administrator for Northwest Center. Now that can be a designee. So if it's the clinical director and you know their executive director agrees to it, I'm okay with that. It just needs to be somebody in authority, proper authority at the agency. So does that make sense, Ryan? And then lastly, you'll sign it as well. So you'll submit this to me with the agency signature, somebody from the agency, and your signature. And from there, if we approve it, I'll put my signature. This will go into your file, but it will need to be uploaded. It's an assignment. Part of this first assignment is also, and Abby, are you continuing at Bill Johnson? Is that you're gonna just finish it up there?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, just take the copies that you did last semester and upload them here. If it's a new placement, you need to redo it, but you can see there's quite a bit to consider here. So, obviously put your information in, your email, the site, what their phone number, address is. Please be detailed in this. This helps me contact them in the case of an emergency or problem, or even just to chat. So please be detailed when you fill out the practicum placement description. Will you be able to do individual counseling there? Will you be able to do family counseling? If I remember Northwest Center, Ryan, you probably won't be able to do individual sessions by yourself. You probably won't be able to do individual clients, but you will get to do a lot of observation. If you're sitting in with, this is probably the biggest question, and I'll have a prelude to our bigger question here. Direct versus indirect hours. If you're in a session, watching a session, that's a direct service hour. And that'll be the biggest. I think students usually have the most problems getting direct hours versus indirect, time with the client. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. You'll talk about the population, talk about training opportunities. Well, Northwest Center lets you sit in on CEU events. One thing that you have to ensure, and this is do not pass go regardless of your site. You have to have at least 1 hour of supervision. It can be group, but you have to have at least 1 hour of supervision with a licensed professional at the site. So that's usually, and if there's a different circumstance, you need to talk to me about that as soon as possible. But what the idea is that you have an on-site supervisor with a license that can be there for support, that can supervise you, that can meet with you weekly. That's necessary. And that also sometimes makes it hard. So like Great Salt Plains is a really good agency, but we've had a hard, and actually I think if that falls through, Ryan, you might consider Great Salt Plains in Cherokee, because they did reach out to me for possibly being able to supervise students. So that's not been a placement that we've had a lot of luck with because they've been short-staffed, but I did get somebody reaching out to me. So if that doesn't work out, Great Salt Plains would also be a place where you could go maybe observe. Okay. Let's see here, keep going. Sorry, this is just a dry class, but we've got to cover the information. And then you want to make sure that you you put in your supervisors available. There can be more than one. So the agency director or clinical director doesn't have to be your site supervisor, just somebody with a license. And the license could be anything mental health related. It could be a social worker, marriage and family therapist, could be a psychologist. It just has to be somebody, it could be an LADC. It just has to be somebody with a license level of certification. This is absolutely necessary. So if you run into a crisis, say a client is suicidal, homicidal, there's a drug overdose, there's a physical illness, there's aggression, you have to cover this. You have to put this in, say, hey, what do I do in the case of an emergency? What do I do in the case of a crisis? And so we need to document this, and you also have to have somebody that you can contact at the agency in the case of an emergency, in the case of a crisis. So that needs to be covered. This is necessary. And if there's a backup person as well. If you have a situation like this where you are dealing with suicide, homicide, aggression, first of all, make sure the situation is safe and stable with the person on site. Then I want you to contact me, regardless of the hour. I want you to contact me. If it's in the middle of the night, I probably am not going to respond. If you're unsafe and you feel like you're unsafe, what should you do? And you don't have any support.
Emergency services.
911. Yep. Dial 911. Get some help. Get safe. That's number one is get safe before you contact me. At the earliest possible time, I do need you to contact me so we can debrief. We can talk about that situation. Abby's been close with a couple of situations. Luckily, Abby's had some good support there. Bill Johnson being able to talk about that with her supervisor. Had a high acuity client. Are you still seeing that client, Abby?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Have they needed like intervention or anything more significant lately?
No, he's actually like tremendously gotten better. So like,
Really?
yeah, like I
The
think it
meds?
was just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't think it was meds.
Okay.
I don't know. He's starting to work out, so that's a good thing. He
Okay.
looks more put together.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, it was seriously like a week or two, and it was just like, who are you? So I don't know. Well, hopefully we'll keep going on that track.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Um, but yeah, and then we'll also, if you're in a situation like that, we talk about that as a group um, in our classes. So that's another source of support here. There are a lot of people, and I'm not going to claim to know everything at all. And oftentimes there are more than one right way to do something. So, we have discussions in this class about cases. It is important. I'll say this now, and this goes for everybody. It is important that when you're in this class that you find a confidential setting and not be somewhere where other people can overhear our conversations because we talk about sensitive information, and sometimes that may include client names. And so we want to make sure that, and it's a small community, and sometimes you don't need to say a name. It's just a situation, somebody will know who that is. So we will need to make sure that people are in a confidential setting, nobody else around for this class. All right. Keep going here. That takes care of that. So the after the insurance, making sure you get these next series of pages uploaded. That will be uploaded to the Practicum supervisee contract, and you'll want to upload pages 12 through 16. So there's 5 pages, and that goes uploaded right here. First 2 assignments. The other assignment that's absolutely necessary is this FERPA consent to release form. This allows me to have a conversation with your site supervisor. This is the actual form. It looks like this. You'll put in your name, your ID, client, your student ID, date of birth, your phone number. And what you'll want to click is any and all information related to your functioning as a counseling practicum student. So you don't need to click billing, financial aid registry. This consent was created for the purpose of this class. And then what you'll put here is your supervisor and their contact information. So this is its own separate form. You'll need to sign this. Again, you cannot accrue. This is kind of like the insurance. You cannot accrue direct hours unless I have one of these because I have to be able to have a conversation with your site supervisor. Does that make sense? Okay. So that goes under the FERPA consent to release form. And that you can upload right here where you found the form. And I think that's it to get going. In a couple of weeks, if you're Practicum 1, you will have a self-reflection paper due. This is in the syllabus, and I may cover this more in our next class, but you'll want to upload about a 3 to 5 page reflection of your development as a counselor so far, like in your goals, like what you've learned in the classes, what you struggled with, what you're working on right now, what you'd like to develop in Practicum, your goals as you go into Practicum. That you'll create like a 3 to 5 page document, upload it there. Practicum 2 students, do not complete this assignment again. You already did this last semester. Yours will be This will, and I'm making it to where it'll appear. Yours will appear in November. November 12th, Practicum 2 students will have the opportunity to submit their final reflection. So this is like you're at the end of your career as a student, you're getting ready to be a professional. Where are you at? And it's kind of the same thing, it's a self-reflection exercise. So please remember at the end, we'll try to do this, reiterate this at the end of the semester, but Practicum 2 students, you'll have a final reflection paper, but it's due at the end. And it's not going to appear in your assignments for quite a while. Okay, questions at this point. I've done a lot of talking. What questions are coming up? It's a lot of paperwork at the beginning. If you're a Practicum 2 student, it's a lot of replication. You've already done it once. If you're a Practicum 1 student, it's just a lot of work to get the paperwork done. But it's necessary to get us moving in a good direction. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's look at how to keep track of hours. That's really important. You go back to the handbook and you'll want to keep track of your hours on a weekly basis, or else you'll get behind and then it's hard to figure out what you've done. Let's talk about how to document hours. Students are required to complete 2 practicums for a total of 6 credit hours at the university. It talks about what you have to turn in the first week of class. Students, so Practicum 1 students, to get credit for this class, you have to have a minimum of 150 hours. About half of you did not complete the 150 hours over the summer. For summer students, this is okay because it was super short. It was half a semester, it was 8 weeks. It's not 16 weeks like the fall. So so those folks that didn't get through with their 150 hours, you all got incompletes. You cannot start accruing hours for Practicum 2 until you get done with those Practicum 1 hours. So you're going to keep using that interim log sheet, you know what that is, to accrue your hours until you're done. And then you'll submit them to me in the first Practicum class, not this one. You'll go back to your summer Practicum class, upload those there, email me, say, hey, Professor Randolph, I'm done. I've got all my hours. And then I can get rid of that incomplete and you can start your Practicum 2 hours. So, Practicum 1 students, you have to have a minimum of 150 hours, a minimum of 50 direct, and a minimum of 100 indirect for a minimum number of 150. The direct hours are mostly harder to come by than the indirect. Indirect hours can be a lot of things. Indirect hours can be you studying for comps. A lot of you will be getting hours indirectly that way because I'm preparing to be a counselor. I'm studying all of my information that I learned as a student at Northwestern. Log those hours, comp studying. You get credit for attending this class. These are indirect hours. As you're in this class right now, so Abby, right now, you're getting probably close to 45 minutes or an hour of their indirect time. So you'll log that, and where you'll log these eventually will be in this Practicum hour log, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But you can also keep and I encourage you to keep, there's the in between, the interim semester hours log, that'll come in later. A monthly log sheet, and some of you have this digitally. And I don't mind if you keep track of it digitally. The one sheet that you cannot submit to me in a weird format is this one. I'm requiring everybody, because this is the formal one that gets documented at the end of the semester, that stays with you even after you graduate. This is your final formal Practicum log here. Page 18 should be like enshrined in gold or platinum. Make sure this is right. you'll have 3 signatures on here, yours, your site supervisor, and then lastly, I'll look at it to make sure everything is correct and I'll sign it. So of anything in this class that has to be 100% perfect, it's this one, because this one should become a part of your permanent record. And if you're in the interim, I would argue that this one needs to be perfect too. There's page 19. That won't apply to everybody. Some of you have this, like from Dr. Kirby, like an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet where it's adding it up like separately. That's fine. That's fine. And you can even print that out and submit it to me in that format. That's okay. But you cannot just submit some weird thing to me for your final log. Please make sure you use our forms for your final log. Okay. What counts? Direct hours, individual counseling, group counseling, couple or family counseling, consultation with the parent or other counselor pertaining to student's client. This says you can actually get direct hours if you like show your video. Let's say you show your video in class, like, because you're gonna make videos for this class too. Yeah, I'm gonna count that as a direct hour, and the other students can count as a direct hour too if we go through the whole hour. Indirect hours, there's just about everything under the sun except for you can't count your other classes. If you're in another class, that doesn't count. That's its own thing. So you can't double count. Anything outside of that class that you're doing to develop as a skill for a counselor, yes. So if you're taking notes, if you're doing progress notes, if you're doing treatment planning, if you're in this class, these are all indirect hours. If you're studying for comps, that's an indirect hour. Questions on that? I usually have several questions. No? Okay. It's okay. They'll come up. You document your hours. Don't put like 1 hour and 15 minutes. 1 hour, 30 minutes. You're going to document your hours like 1.25. In other words, it's decimal point. It's not like, because it becomes impossible to add your hours unless you do it this way, 1.75. You will round to the nearest 15-minute mark because that's the way insurance companies do it too. If you did something for 7 minutes, it didn't happen. If you did something for 8 minutes, it's 15 minutes. If you did something for 23 minutes, it's 30 minutes. If you did something for 22 minutes, it's 15 minutes. Does that make sense? You break it out between 7, like you're closest to 15. You either round up or round down to the nearest 15 minutes. Okay. What are some other important things? Let's look at dates. And I'm going to go over the syllabus more. I don't want to run this class over too much. We're only going to go 45 because there's only 2 of us here. We'll cover more of this next week. But looking at the syllabus. Let's go down to the dates. So, Practicum 1 students, you have a couple of weeks to get your reflection due. Actually, we need to have all of that, like, as soon as you can. That thing I went over at the beginning class, like the site agreement, supervisor agreement, the liability insurance, the FERPA consent, that needs to be done as soon as possible because that allows you to get direct hours. You'll have recordings just like we did in supervised, except you need to use real clients. I don't want you to use students. We need to start in this. So if you use students last semester, I want you to find real. If you're Practicum 2, we had a short time for summer. We couldn't do a lot of things. You need to find real clients. Okay, so that's important. I want us to find people that we're not familiar with. You need to show how you're going to work with, strangers, stranger danger, right? We need to figure out how you're going to work with people that you don't know. And I want to see that. And so the recordings are right here, and I don't take late recordings. So I'm going to be a stickler by this semester. So if you, like some of you were late over the summer, this is going to go away. So first recorded session, transcript reflection. I have 4 of these. So after that due date, this is going away and you won't get credit for the first session. Same thing with second, same thing with third. There's an optional 4th session. If you miss one or you bomb one, you can do a 4th session to try to make that up. But I'm not going to be flexible. I'm sorry. It's hard to keep track of these things. And I'm going to do my best to give you quick feedback on when you quick turnaround, like within a week, like, okay, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I want you to work on. The summer was crazy, and so I was flexible because I didn't get a chance to give you quick feedback, but I plan to this fall. Any questions on that? Those are worth a lot. Those are worth 100 points each. So I would say that people that don't do well grade-wise in this class don't do well in their recordings. Yes, go ahead, Ryan.
So you said they need to be actual clients, not students, and where do we find these clients?
So that would come from your site, hopefully. If you do not have a site, then what I would suggest is reach out to me and I'll find people that you don't know. Those are probably people that are past graduates of the program, but I mean, I don't want you to work with your classmates for this one.
Can I keep my same client, or do you want me to find somebody new?
You can keep you kind of knew your client.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't have anybody else, and she
Yeah.
needed a counselor, so it's just
Kinda-
like, and I can't
well,
use
I-
anybody.
You are kind of in a weird spot. Okay, so give me a friend percentage with your client. Friend is like a 10-point friend scale. 10 is I can share everything with this person because they're my bestie. 1 is I don't know this person from Adam. You give me a rating for your client.
I would say like 4, 5, maybe.
She's a
Like I wouldn't
teenager.
share everything with her, but like we played softball. That was literally like, that's the only way I knew her. So
Let me think about that. Think about somebody brainstorm somebody that could be outside your network. I know. Here's what I think I have less concern for you because you have to do that with your job and you've had to do that for a while. But there are some that I feel like I haven't had a chance to really look at and see who they might, how they might perform with somebody they don't know. So think about it. Somebody, well, that's not fair, Taylor. You let Abby do that. Everybody's situation is a little different, though. I mean, you have had a job where you work with people that you don't know. And if somebody were in a situation where they're working in the field for quite a while, that might be a different argument with me. But give it a little thought if you don't mind. Okay. Let's see. I think that's the big thing. I think I want to stop it there because we're at 45 minutes and then it gets hard to watch a video. But it's so hard after about 10 minutes. But let's stop it there. Any last questions before we break out?
if we turn in all our paperwork today, can we technically start doing hours tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And here's the thing. If you're a Prac 2 student and I already have these things on file somewhere, I just have to have them in the class. I have to have them documented. So if you've got all those necessary things, yeah, your hours are going to count. If you're Prac 1, you can't count them because I don't have them anywhere. We don't have any signatures. So Prac 1 students, please get on getting the site information filled out. Those 3. Well, there's actually probably in all about 7 pieces of paper or 8. But make sure you get those. And I'll do that one more time before we get off of here. I'll reiterate it so people like a bookend know what they need to do. Biggest thing is The FERPA form, that one's easy to fill out. Just fill it out. Well, if you know your site supervisor. First thing to get on is liability insurance. Get on that. That should take a day. It should take you. It should be able to get that by tomorrow if you start it today. If you can pay their 40 or 50 bucks. The other thing is this contract, and that's found in the handbook. So I think it started on page 12 or so and went through page 18. Those are necessary. So those 5 pages, the liability insurance and the FERPA form, these 3 things need to be done as soon as possible. And we'll get into those others as we move along in the class. There's a midterm eval, but I'm not going to go over it today. We'll get to the other things as we move along in the class. Okay. Any last thoughts here, gang?
Yeah, just like how to chart the hours, because we get how to accrue them, but how do we like actually mark what
Okay.
we've done?
How do you mark them up? Okay, good question. Good question. So that's going to be done in your handbook. And you might need to make copies of these forms, or some people, like I said, have found, like I think Lee Kirby gave like a digital Google spreadsheet or also Excel spreadsheet. But you'll document your hours on things like this. So there's a monthly log sheet, and so each day that you, like today, like I just start today with 8:15 activity, met for class. It's an indirect hour. We'll put the time started. We're gonna have a full hour because we're gonna go over a few minutes. So we started at 11:15. We're gonna end at 12:15. I'll end here about 4 minutes to make sure we round up. And so that'll be an hour. Let's say that you go to Northwest Center and you meet with somebody for 30 minutes. Activity. Met with clinical director at Northwest Center. Indirect, so maybe just write down indirect or I or D direct, I indirect. Time started, time finished, whatever. If it's 30 minutes, that's 0.5. Does that make sense? So don't put 30 minutes, put 0.5. That way we can actually add them. And so forth. What happens is this gets filled up, and so people tend to make a lot of these monthly log sheets because and you submit these at the end of class. When you find a client, you'll need to get their consent to record them, record a video. When you meet with your site supervisor, you will want to fill this out for them. So each week you'll want to document what you talked about in supervision with your site supervisor. And it's got prompts on here, what you discussed, clients you discussed, plans or goals, any comments. And then you'll try to tally, the hours that you had this week, direct, indirect. I'm less concerned about this being precise. I mean, just as long as you have a running total on something like that spreadsheet I had up there. The supervisor will sign it and you'll sign it. These will be submitted at the end of the semester. At the end of the semester, this stuff at the end, we'll talk about this later. There's a lot of paperwork at the end of the semester, but your supervisor will rate you and you'll rate your supervisor. The big thing, Ryan, for your direct question, what I would encourage you to do is find that monthly sheet, and that's where you're going to start just tallying your hours. And then when you tally those things up, then you come back to this formal one where it's got 3 signatures. Week 1, we start at 8:14. We're going to end 8:22. You may not have any direct hours this week. Here's where you would put your indirect over here. So I would consider this group supervision. So you could, put an hour in group supervision. So you've already got an hour accrued indirect. Does that make sense? And do that weekly. But this is your formal one. This could be more informal where you're just, basically keeping a tally. No. Sorry. This next one, this monthly log sheet. This is where you're keeping a tally of stuff. And like I said, if you reach out to other students, I think they have a digital copy of that monthly log sheet. That's fine too. Just print it at the end and submit it. Okay, good questions. Anything else? All right. I know we didn't get through everything, but hopefully it's enough to get started. If you have any other questions, please email me. Otherwise, be good, get started, and I'll see y'all soon. Try to do this Tuesday. I'll send out a more formal email. I didn't give people lead time, but I did want to get started. So anyway, okay, take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.